Imagine two Southeast Asian nations, one where a $20 bribe might get you out of a traffic ticket, another where even attempting that could land you in jail. Today, we're diving into Cambodia's ambitious journey to match Singapore's anti-corruption success, what's at stake, and why it matters for millions of lives.
And it's quite a journey to examine, especially when you look at the numbers. According to Transparency International's latest data, Singapore scores 84 out of 100 on the Corruption Perceptions Index, while Cambodia sits at just 21.
That's a pretty massive gap.
Yeah, and it gets even more striking. Cambodia actually ranks 158th out of 180 countries assessed, while Singapore consistently ranks among the top 5 least corrupt nations globally.
So what's driving this huge difference?
Well, according to recent assessments, Cambodia faces what experts call state capture, where political elites and their allies use power to amass wealth at the expense of state resources and human rights.
State capture? That sounds pretty serious.
It is. The World Bank's governance indicators show Cambodia scoring just 11.06 out of 100 for control of corruption, and similar low scores across other measures like rule of law and government effectiveness.
And how does this affect everyday life in Cambodia?
It has massive implications. For instance, Cambodia's gross national income per capita is around $2,501, while Singapore's is about $74,700. That's nearly 30 times higher.
That's an incredible difference for two Southeast Asian nations.
And you know what's interesting? When we look at Singapore's recent leadership transition, they engaged over 200,000 citizens in consultative exercises before appointing Lawrence Wong as prime minister.
How does that compare to Cambodia's approach?
Well, in stark contrast, Cambodia's transition saw Hun Sen simply hand power to his son, Hun Manet, without any public consultation process.
That really highlights the different governance approaches, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And it extends to their anti-corruption institutions, too. Singapore's anti-corruption agency operates independently, while Cambodia's anti-corruption unit is directly controlled by the executive branch.
Wait, so the very agency meant to fight corruption isn't independent?
Exactly. And according to recent civil society reports, this lack of independence means the ACU is often used as a tool to target political opponents while ignoring corruption within the ruling party.
That seems like a fundamental flaw in the system.
It is. And what's concerning is that Cambodia's CPI score has actually decreased by 2 points compared to 2022, showing things are getting worse, not better.
But surely there must be some reform efforts underway.
There are. The Leadership and Innovation Program, for instance, has trained over 1,000 senior Cambodian officials since 2021, focusing on real-time reforms across ministries.
That sounds promising. How effective has it been?
Well, it's had a 98% completion rate, which is impressive, but the real challenge is translating that training into actual institutional change.
What's standing in the way of that change?
The main obstacle is that corruption in Cambodia isn't just a technical problem, it's deeply political. The system benefits those in power, so there's little incentive to change it.
That's quite a catch-22 situation.
It is. And here's something interesting. While both Singapore and Cambodia are effectively one-party states, Singapore's freedom score is 48 out of 100, while Cambodia's is just 23.
So you can have strong governance even with dominant party rule?
Exactly. Singapore shows that what matters isn't necessarily the political system, but the strength of institutions and commitment to good governance.
What specific reforms would Cambodia need to implement?
According to civil society reports, 3 key areas need attention: making the anti-corruption unit truly independent, strengthening judicial integrity, and increasing transparency in public institutions.
Those sound like pretty fundamental changes.
They are, and they're particularly challenging because Cambodia's current anti-corruption law lacks sufficient safeguards for institutional independence.
How does that compare to Singapore's approach?
Singapore's anti-corruption framework ensures strong institutional independence and provides robust mechanisms for enforcement, regardless of the person's position or political connections.
That seems like a crucial difference.
It is. And what's particularly telling is that within ASEAN, Cambodia remains near the bottom, surpassing only Myanmar in corruption rankings.
So what's the path forward?
Recent analysis suggests that meaningful reform would require not just technical changes, but a fundamental shift in political will and institutional culture.
That sounds like a long-term project.
Yes, and it's complicated by the fact that Cambodia's anti-corruption efforts are often hampered by resource constraints, inadequate funding, staffing, and technical expertise.
But surely the economic benefits would outweigh those costs?
Absolutely. Just look at Singapore. Their strong anti-corruption stance has helped make them a global financial hub with one of the highest per capita incomes in the world.
Are there any signs of progress in Cambodia?
There are some positive developments in areas like resource mobilization and local services, but the expert opinions behind the CPI clearly indicate that grand and political corruption persist.
How does this affect foreign investment?
It has a significant impact. High corruption levels increase business risks and costs, deterring potential investors who might otherwise be attracted to Cambodia's growing market.
That must create a real economic drag.
It does, and it creates this vicious cycle where corruption leads to less investment, which means fewer economic opportunities, which can then drive more corruption.
How do you break that cycle?
Singapore's experience suggests it requires strong leadership commitment, consistent enforcement, and most importantly, building public trust in institutions.
And is there appetite for that kind of change in Cambodia?
The public certainly wants it, but the challenge is that those who benefit from the current system have little incentive to change it.
It's quite a complex situation.
Indeed, and what's particularly concerning is that Cambodia's corruption score has been stuck in the low 20s for the past decade, despite occasional minor improvements.
So what's the key lesson from Singapore's success?
That fighting corruption requires more than just laws and institutions. It needs genuine political will, consistent enforcement, and strong public support.
And those elements are currently missing in Cambodia?
Yes, particularly the political will. The current system benefits those in power, making meaningful reform extremely challenging.
It seems like quite a mountain to climb.
It is, but Singapore's example shows it's possible. They transformed from a corruption-riddled port city to one of the cleanest governments in the world.
That's an inspiring example to follow.
The question is whether Cambodia's leadership will make the difficult choices necessary to follow that path.
The gap between Cambodia and Singapore might seem vast, but remember, Singapore once faced similar challenges.
Exactly. The path to reform is clear. What's needed now is the courage to take the first steps.
Thanks for joining us on this exploration of Cambodia's anti-corruption journey. Until next time, keep asking the tough questions. They're often the ones most worth answering.